Hi and welcome to Code Crimson Chats. I am Anuja and here with me is Ankita. Today is Menstrual Hygiene Day and we couldn't let go of this opportunity to talk about periods again. বেশি হয়ে গেল
अरे अभी वाला अगेन बोल भी ना.
Hi and welcome to Code Crimson Chats. My name is Anuja and here with me is Ankita. Today is Menstrual Hygiene Day and we are going to be talking about periods.
Again.
To start with, my first question to you. What's the one period symptom you secretly still feel embarrassed about? Even after everything we've built with Code Crimson.
The one symptom that I'm actually secretly embarrassed about is my food cravings 3-4 days leading up to my periods. So my breakfast becomes 3 idlis instead of 2 and then for my lunch another full plate of chicken biryani.
Are you embarrassed to yourself or are you embarrassed because of others' perception towards you? Because it makes sense to have those cravings before periods because we know the body is burning up more calories, so it needs more
energy.
Yeah.
It embarrasses me because I don't recognize myself. I'm really not used to eating so much, proper 4 meals like this.
Fair.
I'm not used to that.
Fair.
Now my question to you is, if your period were a person, what kind of personality would it have and would you be okay to be friends with it?
My period personality would be very similar to Rakhi Sawant.
I'm not surprised.
She's entertaining, she's unpredictable, she's erratic, she's very innovative and expressive. She's super expressive, I'm super expressive when I'm on my periods, and unpredictable as well because I don't know which month I'll get which new pain. Sometimes my knees hurt, sometimes my back hurts, sometimes I get a headache, cramps are always there. I always enjoy watching Rakhi. The enjoyment aspect of that personality, I would attribute it to my cravings. It gives me a free pass to indulge without having to reason with myself constantly as to this is unhealthy and junk and all of that. Yeah.
Fair enough.
And I would definitely be friends.
Okay,
now on to the third. Was there a specific moment where period stigma had actually changed a decision you made?
I wouldn't be saying it had changed any decision. It made me modify it a bit, or I'll just tell you about it. So it was one of our distant cousins' wedding and I happened to get my periods then, and I chose to refrain myself from the rituals or the pujo rituals around the wedding time. Not the festivities, but yes, during the pujo, because again, I wouldn't want somebody to come up to me and tell me, oh, don't touch that, don't go there, you're not supposed to be around here. So I chose to refrain myself and didn't want to be touching something which I wasn't supposed to touch. It didn't change my decision, but yeah, I just had to.
It influenced your decision of not being a part of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you actually talk about periods to boys and men in real life? Like, do you have an approach, or what's your approach?
I don't really have an approach. It has always been very natural for me to talk about periods. So there is no framework per se. I don't sit them down and prepare them for a sermon that I'm supposed to give about my periods or anything like that. So it just is a natural part of my conversation. If a friend texts me and he says, are you free next weekend to hang out? And if I'm on my periods, I just say that no, I don't think I'll be able to make it because I have my dates along the way. Or if somebody wants to go somewhere or make a trip around that time, like the other day we were talking about going to that marathon. In July or August.
August. It's the month of August.
And I checked the dates and it is around my period time, so I said I'd rather not sign up because I probably won't be there. So what point being that it's a very natural part of my conversation, even with our family elders who our previous generation were not very comfortable talking about periods very openly, and they would tiptoe around them when this topic arose. Now I am very comfortable just saying that if they are visiting and they ask me, why are you looking like that, why are you looking so dull, I'm very comfortable saying, oh, I'm just on my period, so I look very dull. And that's a disaster, a dreaded situation for the generation above us. But for me it's very natural. So
I think this generation is coping with menstruation in a much better way compared to what our other generations have had done.
we are definitely
getting
trying
there. We're slowly getting there.
You
probably.
and me and a few others I know are definitely trying to, but I know if we were to have a ratio between the ones who are trying to make it normal and are still interested in keeping it under the rugs, I would say the latter ratio is much higher. Much higher.
But the gap is somewhere maybe just reducing a bit.
Yeah, for sure. The assembly in Malaysia. A part of my speech was that, so next time when you look at my face, make sure you think about periods, and when you think about periods, make sure you ask your sister, wife, girlfriend, whoever it is, you go and ask them how they are doing, or maybe just sit down and have a conversation with them to understand their cycles better.
Yeah, and I also think the men or the male friends around us have also developed a very organic way of dealing with it, you know. So the other day when one of your friends had come home, so I was just throwing my tantrums. I was just not my normal self that point of time, and he just asked me, "Kya ho gaya didi aapko?" So I just said कि अरे मेरा PMS चल रहा है.
Okay. Next question. What hygiene practices that have nothing to do with the products do most people get wrong?
So the one thing that is not recommended is douching, which I've heard a lot of girls do. You know, so it messes up with your pH levels. And that creates more of bacterial growth, and again leading up to infections and likewise. So that is one thing you should not be doing at all.
With periods or without periods?
With periods or without periods. But then just to keep yourself clean, because girls feel if they douche they'll be probably cleaner, but that is not the fact at all, because your vagina has a natural way of getting itself cleansed with or without the water. So
I remember somebody when I shared this piece of information with them that vaginas, they are self-cleansing, they said, oh, so vaginas are smart vaginas. That was ridiculous.
Okay, if you had to name one cultural shift, not a law, not infrastructure, what would make the biggest difference to menstrual dignity globally?
Since you mentioned the word globally here, I am going to have the world as my point of reference when I'm answering this. I think it would be the perception of women being not productive during their periods, because that usually ends up being a part of the debate of women being employable, women taking up higher positions in corporate, or women starting something of their own, and investors not being interested because they would not think her to be capable enough to be doing so. There could be a bunch of other things I could have brought up in this question, but since you mentioned the word global, I think to restore menstrual dignity, we have to first believe that it is not something that slows us down. Our bodies do need rest, our bodies do need extra attention, but it's definitely not something that makes us lesser productive or lesser useful or lesser impactful in the workforce.
Correct. It should not be a deciding factor.
Not at all. Not at all. Even though it ends up being so.
Yeah, that's what. So that is the one cultural shift that we are looking forward to.
Okay. What does a period-friendly world look like on a regular Tuesday for a 14-year-old girl?
Okay. I would say a regular Tuesday would look something like where her period stains are treated just the same way as how you treat a food stain in your uniform or a school dress, or probably any dress, any piece of clothing, where you're not shamed we're not
Embarrassed.
and we're not asked to hush about it. You know?
It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. It's just a period stain.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Who do we still not have at the table in menstrual health conversations that we desperately need?
I am going to answer this question through the lenses of an Indian and what I see around. I would say religious leaders, because our community, because our country is so religious and so spiritual. I think they have a huge power in shifting the narrative and mindset even at the grassroots level, with the stigmas and taboos and misconceptions regarding
Periods.
menstruation. Once we are able to do that, I think the lives of menstruators coming from any walk of life will be lesser stigmatized, lesser shameful, and more empowered. So I think they are someone who hold a lot of power and influence in our culture's mindset.
True. I agree.
Okay, next question to you. Is the way we talk about periods still too pregnancy centric? What do we lose in framing it that way?
Absolutely. Completely. The very fact that we've been taught or we are told you get your periods because you didn't get pregnant, or
it's a sign that you're not pregnant.
It's a sign that you're not pregnant, and we are told that there is an egg which releases every month from every alternate ovary, and when that egg does not get fertilized is when you get your periods. So the whole narrative is built around being pregnant or not being pregnant, so that excludes the people who do not want to have children, who cannot have children, or who are just battling around PCOS, endometriosis and the likes, and also that periods are not just about pregnancy. It says a lot about your body.
Yeah, it's a phenomena in itself.
Yeah.
Pregnancy is
maybe a consequence of periods.
Yeah, of periods. But periods is a phenomena, it's a bodily cycle in itself.
Yeah, it has an individual identity.
Yeah, for sure.
So periods have a lot to do with your iron levels, with your hormones, with your thyroids, with your cramp, a lot many
with
things.
With your
mood swings, a lot of it.
Yeah,
so,
with the way you are able to go through life.
Correct. And
your mental health.
Absolutely. And another thing also, it excludes the women who are undergoing menopause. Somewhere the narrative is also that if your body is no longer fertile, you do not be, or you're not a part of the conversations anymore.
Yeah, your bodies are not significant enough to be
discussed.
Research and so on. Fair.
So,
and also when we go through cramps, multiple times we have heard people say it's okay that you're going through the cramps now because this is preparing you for pregnancy, your labor pains, and that makes absolutely no sense, because I don't think anything prepares us or anybody for the kind of exhaustion and
the ordeal that one goes through. Absolutely.
And it still doesn't make sense to go through that every month. So
yeah. Okay, so my last question to you is, what's a menstrual health myth you yourself believed for too long?
I think I still believe that, or maybe no, I don't.
Maybe you're still confused.
That. Yeah, I think I'm still conflicted. I see this being spoken about very often, that if your periods are painful, then you're probably not healthy. There's something wrong with your periods, or there's something wrong with you. And I remember when we had gone to Ma's gynac, when Ma had discussed about our cramps with her, she said it's good, it's a healthy sign that they are going through these cramps. But lately I've come to terms with the narrative that it's not very healthy. And why I feel conflicted is because even during my checkups with my gynac, my tests are fine, my scans are fine, and all they have to say is you just need to get married to get rid of the cramps. That translates to something else, but point is that they don't think anything's wrong with me, and yet I go through excruciating pain.
Sometimes they say that the pain should not be such that it is disrupting your normal life. You know,
But
so
it does disrupt
It does
my normal
disrupt.
life.
It does disrupt. But
Yeah.
then that's what they say, that a little bit of pain is natural, because at the end of the day, there's a shedding which is happening. So you
Yeah.
will be experiencing pain.
Yeah.
But then if the pain is so bad that it disrupts your normal life, and that is when you should be getting a checkup done. I've also heard that the pain is very genetic or hereditary. Like if your mom had a lot of pain, then you will be experiencing the pain similarly.
Yeah.
So yes, Ma had a lot of pain during her
Yeah.
period, so probably we have gotten it from her.
And I have also heard that the younger you are, the worse the cramps are.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
yeah.
apparently it reduces with age. Now, having said that, with the age angle could come with the fact that you're having more intercourse once you get older, and probably that is how your cramps are getting better.
But nonetheless, you should always get yourselves checked.
For
That
sure.
is for sure. That is a non-negotiable. With pain, without pain, there is no harm getting a checkup done. You should be getting your blood tests done. You should be getting your scans done once in a while. Yeah, just take care of yourself.
Okay, on the closing note, my last question would be, what's the one thing you want every person watching this to do tomorrow?
The one thing that I'd recommend to a guy as well as a girl is just muster up that courage and walk up to your dad and have the conversation about periods
With him.
with him. Yeah.
Fair, fair. If you were to ask me that question, I would say subscribe to our channel right now. I think that brings us to the end of our
Yeah.
chat today, and let us know in the comments if we were able to pass on some information to you that was unknown to you before, or we were able to discuss something that resonated with you. We are always on the lookout for your comments, for your messages, for your DMs, so feel free to reach out to us, and until then, bye bye.
Bye bye.